Okay, this is why I am very confident that Wendy's going to be arrested. So I'm going to give you the take. In Sigfredo and Katie's trial, it was always like linking Charlie. And then we know Katie was retried because she had the hung jury. And then in Katie's trial, again, it was Charlie. Then who was arrested, or he had been arrested, I guess, during Katie's trial or right before it. And then Charlie's trial was all about Donna. Well, Donna's trial is linking Wendy. So Mary Hull, the financial auditor accounting thing for the state of Florida, she testified that Wendy had more than enough money on her own for the down payment on that house that Charlie talked her out of. And then, Charlie had texted Donna and said, good news, she's not going to buy that house. Like he talked her out of it, convinced her that renting was better. And Donna's like, oh, you're a miracle worker. Thank you, Charlie. So they've already proven that Wendy lied, that she said she couldn't buy the house because Dan hadn't given her that money. They also, with Jeff Lacoste, they had a photo inside Wendy's house, the one on Aqua Ridge, and there was all this children's artwork on the wall. And he confirmed, yeah, it was always there. And then a few days before the murder, she was taking the artwork down. Of course, Rob Adelson, I think he's been the most effective witness so far. It was painful just to watch him, you could tell. And then he was saying, that it was odd because Wendy texted him a photo of her and Jeff and I think the boys in front of Colorado Springs sign. And he just said that was weird. Like Wendy's never been public about dating life. And it was just odd that she sent a photo to Rob and then said, don't tell mom and dad. But we all know Harvey and Donna knew anyway. So it's like she was trying to make it out like it was some secret so that when the homicide happened, that Rob would be like, oh yeah, that was. We also heard more about the day that Wendy was not interrogated, interviewed. And she said that she was terrified because the police came to the restaurant and that they told her in the car about Dan being shot. But we know that's not true because we've all seen the interview video 100,000 times with Isom when he tells her and then she breaks down in her acting. Georgia was on direct with Wendy. She asked about the condos at the Continuum, a very upscale place in Miami. And Wendy, I think, said her parents rented it in March before the July when Dan was killed. But they didn't move in there for a long time. But we know that's not true because that's where she moved to after everything happened with Dan. But what was interesting with Corbett on the stand today, he was confirming that when Wendy was down in Miami and she was texting Dan to just confirm he was going to be in Tallahassee the week of the homicide, that her cell tower from where she was texting, it was right there where the Continuum is. So she was laying it all out. Also, so we all know Harvey's 70th birthday party. They kept acting like it was a surprise and all this. And we know now from what Rob said, it was not a surprise. It was very known. Harvey never wanted gifts, but all this was made about the gifts. So his party was on July 5th. On July 6th, Wendy, of course, we know now, texted Dan to ask just to confirm when he was going to be in Tallahassee that week leading up to the 18th. And then also, she made a calendar entry for July 7th to cancel her cable and to add an Apple ID and Netflix. Why do you cancel your cable? Sure, people are doing that, but it seemed weird. And Wendy's text to Dan on that July 6th, again confirming that he was going to be in town. And she says, I can have the boys the night of the 16th, right? Because you're going to be in town. Well, they already had all the custody arrangements. And on Wednesdays, she always got the boys when it was his week and vice versa. So again, why was she having to confirm that? Then the morning of the shooting, like in the 9 to 10 o'clock hour, she and Dan were texting, kind of bickering about who was going to pick up the boys that day. I mean, it was her day, but he wanted to pick them up, I guess, earlier. And she's like saying no. I mean, she's being nasty to him on text. And then in the middle of that, she calls Charlie and then she texts Dan and is like, okay, well, I'll see you at 4:30. But she knew, like, it wasn't going to be an issue, but she just wanted to be a bit. And how about the Evite reminder? So for Harvey's 70th, Donna sent an Evite reminder on July 3rd, so 2 days before the party. Why do you have to put the Adelson on there? So she was already giving the boys the name. We never heard anything about that. Wendy never disputed it. So there's always been this talk too about Jeff Lacasse and the car, and that they were trying to set him up. And it wasn't the Prius that they were trying to match to Jeff Lacasse's car. But the first attempt when they went up to June to Tallahassee, they rented a silver Nissan Altima. Now, why would they rent that? Can't you just see Wendy telling Charlie, yeah, Jeff drives a silver Nissan Altima, even though now we know he drove a Sentra, but it would be like Wendy to get the facts wrong. But then we know they returned that car because Sigfredo got a speeding ticket. Are there coincidences? Of course there's coincidences, but there's not this many.